Good morning. Welcome to Books at the Bottom of the Stairs. My name's Lorraine. I hope you're all doing well. It's coming to the end of November, and for some of us, that's the end of nonfiction November. I do have two books that I hope to bring to you next week if I get them finished. I've said before, nonfiction is not my Speedy Gonzales reading stuff, so it takes me more than a month. It sort of takes me the whole year to get read through a couple of books for November, but Today I'm bringing to you an author that probably most of you haven't heard of. Her name is Jill Maclean. If you do reading for middle grade readers, you may have come across her series that begins with, I think it's The 9 Lives of Travis Keating, that takes place in Newfoundland. She's a Canadian author, and she wrote, I can't remember if it's 3, possibly 4 books that all take place in Newfoundland, starting with Travis Keating, and they are to this day still one of my favorites, top 10 books for that age group. But also I would say that it just still remains one of my favorite all-time books. So Jill has in the last several years segued over into writing historical fiction, and her time period is in the medieval ages, taking place in England, and she has Edmund, who is her main character, and in the first book, so she's got 2 books that are published. Third one is A Twinkle in Her Eye. It begins with The Arrows of Mercy, which I did speak about previously, probably 2 years ago. And we have got Edmund, who has been in 1348 over to the French Wars, and he is the bastard son of, I don't remember who. And yes, he comes home war-torn and struggling to fit back in, not only because of what he's seen in France, but also his place in society as a bastard in his own town. And then the plague arrives and quite a lot of things change. This is a really good book. I really enjoyed it. And I guess this is another one of those moments where I have to figure out the link on how to buy this. It's available in local bookstores, and but I'm not sure how you go about getting it if you are further than the Atlantic provinces. So, got to email Jill. And Jill is one of my longtime book club cohorts. So we go way back. The second book that she's written in the series is The Arrows of Fealty. And this just has recently been reduced. What's that word? Released, and it says it's a standalone sequel to The Arrows of Mercy, and it tells the story of Edmund's son, whose name is Hawken, and he is a restless soul. He's also a very good archer, and he figures out through having a friend of a friend, he figures out how to be one of those warriors that can be on the back of a horse and shooting arrows, pa-chung, pa-chung, pa-chung. And actually at the book launch, Jill had someone come who knows how to do that. And they're not standing on the back of the horse, they're sitting. And so they're just trained to be able to shoot arrows while the horse is moving and the target is moving. So pretty amazing. And so Hawken is one of these skilled archers, I guess. Archer? He returns home, and he doesn't want to be home. He's very unhappy with the war. Oh my gosh, when Jill talks about I sent her an email about page 36 and said, oh my God, you've horrified me very successfully. She really tells the story of being on the walk, leading a horse, hundreds of other people around you, going somewhere where there's no food. You didn't leave any food behind. It's like it's just a horrible experience to be a soldier. And of course, the knights in armor and so forth, some of them aren't doing much better. And Hawken makes enemies with one of these knights who needs rescuing and is rescued by serfs, and he's embarrassed. He doesn't want to be doesn't want to have been rescued, but he's just a fool and needs rescuing. And so he connects with Hawken and holds Hawken responsible for his embarrassment, even though it was his own fault. And so this enmity, and how do you say that word? Enmity continues through the years, much to Hawken's disadvantage. And so Hawken comes back to his community and Edmund's farm. And so, yes, this is a standalone, but I think that to really get the character of Edmund in this book, you kind of have to read this book. To get the story of Hawken, then yeah, for sure, it's a standalone. But I just think that the book will read better if they're joined. So what's happening historically at the same time is that Hawken discovers that if there's proof that Edmund was a bastard, then actually if you're born a bastard, then at that time you are a freeman, because nobody recognizes you. You are sort of floating between the cracks, as it were. So Hawken finds out about this, goes back to his dad and says, can we prove this? Because then we would all be free. And it doesn't exactly work the way Hawken hopes. And this is a moment in British society where some of the imperfections and inequalities of the feudal system are starting to be challenged and questioned. And of course, if anybody raised their hand and said, hey, you guys, this isn't working, then you get your head chopped off. So it took a while for certain equalities to be manifest. And Hawken is caught in the middle of this juncture between the serf and feudal system, and I won't say more democratic, but I'll say more the slow dissipation of the serfs as a category of society. So because he's restless and he's become rather politicized, Hawken is on a very different journey than the people around him, and kind of finds himself in a leadership role. It's not really was his plan to be a leader, but he's very well spoken. He's seen a lot of the world, and he has ideas above his station. And so he gets himself embroiled in some of the riots that are happening in London. As a reading experience, this is a great book. Jill has managed to capture the voice, the turn of phrase, there's a glossary at the back for some of the words that she uses, like a gong firmer is a worker hired by the city and by private households to clean latrines and cesspools. Groat is a fourpence. So she immerses us in the language of that time period, as well as she has just this incredible eye for description of, what the streets were like, what it was like walking through those streets, how muddy your shoes got, the food that people were eating, the way that they were eating them. She's just described everything so well. It's almost like you're looking at a painting the whole way through, but the painting isn't static, and you see these characters moving through the scenes that she's painted, and there were a couple of times where I felt cold or I felt hungry, or like especially in the war scenes, I was like, oh man, this is really difficult. There's some real sad moments in this book, and the ending is just wow. The ending is amazing, and I didn't expect it. I was not set up for it at all. She just pulls it out of her quiver of arrows, boing, lets it go, and you just sit there and go, holy shit, that's amazing. So I just think this was a really good reading experience. There's a moment in the middle where Hawken is bored and restless, and as the reader, I was too. And so I was a little bit concerned, thinking, oh boy, I hope something happens, and something does happen, unexpected, and it's a very well written book, and I am just shocked that Jill was in a situation where it had to be self-published, because they are both probably the strongest self-published books I've ever read. And based on her writing history with the middle grade section, I'm just so surprised that it wasn't picked up by a Canadian publisher. I think if it gets there, they're going to be a little embarrassed. I think this is an award-winning book. I really do. And I think as a series, I think that, I know that the next one, if it comes out in a, I think Jill, because she's done all the historical research up to this point, that's the other thing I should say, segue. It is so well researched, and you don't feel it. And I remember when Jill was getting ready to write this, she went with her son to England and walked the paths that Edmund would have walked. And so, again, that's just another reason why it's so well written. But why was I saying that? Because, you're witnessing a menopause thing in real time. I don't know what I was going to say. So... Oh, that's so annoying. I hate when that happens. So, Alice is coming next, and I don't think it'll take too long, because Alice is the daughter of Hawken, granddaughter of Edmund, and she said that the story is going to center around Alice. And so, because she's already done most of the research, there we go, I'm hoping that it will be a fairly quick time between books. Yeah, that would be fun. So that's it for Jill Maclean, and I will connect with her and see if I can find out how to get hold of her book if you're not nearby. Okay, the other book I'm going to talk about is part of a series that I think is about, I'm going to say it's about 12 books long. It's written by Tony Hillerman. And this is book number 8, A Thief of Time. And so I've been talking about this series over the course of my being on YouTube, which is coming to the end of 5 years. So I tried to read the Tony Hillerman in the summer, and for whatever reason, I just missed ordering this book. I have pretty much everything up on the shelf, because this is a reread for me, and but I missed this book, and I think that's what threw me off my timing. But this is Thieves of Time are people who do the grave robbing, and in the NSC, I don't know how you say that, ANASI, a Nazi ruins in, what is the Navajo territory? Oh God, is that Nevada? Arizona? One of those dry places with all the cliffs. Where's the Grand Canyon? Up around there. Okay, so I have very little concept of American geography. I know where Boston is. And frankly, I'm not even sure where New York is relative to Boston. But anyhow, we have some grave diggers and anthropologists. And sometimes the grave diggers and the anthropologists are working against each other, because of course grave digging is illegal, but anthropologists need the shards and the bowls in order to do their archaeology and their anthropology and so forth. But the grave diggers want a profit. So, it's one of those weird relationships where you kind of need the bad guys in order to be the good guy. And being the good bad guy, oh my goodness. Anyways, there's that kind of little ethical dilemma in the middle of all of this. And so we've got 2 policemen who are tribal policemen, and they're Joe Leaphorn and Jim Chi, and they are looking to find a missing anthropologist, a female anthropologist. And it's connected with another anthropologist who's on a different track. Like you can have the material culture, which is in the pots and the houses and whatever furnishings remain, and then you can have the extrapolation of how humans lived in those societies. And so you've got the human anthropologists, and they are making links between items and making speculations as to how the pots were used and so forth. So we have got the two different branches of anthropology manifested in these two anthropologists coming head to head, or are they? And so one of the cool things about this series is nothing is as it seems. And we get to see some of the culture of the Navajo, and in particular their aversion to dead bodies and the concept of death. Now, in this series, different times in the series, we've been taken to dances or sweats or oh my gosh, like where they get together in a social event, a wedding or something, or just everybody coming together for a family reunion. So different books focus on different parts of the Navajo and Hopi cultures. So I really love it from that standpoint. I mean, it's just, I'm not going to get to this part of the world ever. And these books were written some time ago. And I think there was a sort of a question, you get where a white man is telling about First Nations history and story and so on. But since the original time of these books in the 1980s, people who are concerned about that have read these books and felt that Tony Hillerman has done an excellent job of representing well and not assuming a voice that doesn't exist. So he's done a good job of bringing forward this culture. So you don't have to worry about that kind of white man telling the First Nations story problem. So I'm looking forward to the next one in this series. I think 8. I guess I've got 3 or 4 left to go. I think I'm going to read one around Christmas because I just really enjoy. It's a world that is. You get these mystery series sometimes, and it's such a tight little world. It's all taking place on and the series takes place all in a town, or it takes place all in a time frame of war or something along those lines. But this is a huge territory, and so each time we get a different story, we get a different part of the culture, and from a different point of view. It might be more towards the Navajo side of things, or it might be towards the Hopi side of things. So although it's the same characters going through, it's not. It's really a great world to be in. Okay, that's it for me. I hope all your reading dreams and adventures continue to come true, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye for now.